A huge portion of the midterm next week will be on writing equations, and you need to know all three different forms of writing equations. Slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Point slope form, y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And standard form, capital AX plus capital BY equals capital C. Now each one of these forms, it's just the way they look, right? Both slope-intercept and, slope-intercept has y by itself. If we zoom in on the slope-intercept form details, it says y equals mx plus b, and then where m is the slope, which is the rise over the run, and can be calculated with the slope formula. Okay, so we know that m is rise over run. It's a fraction, rise over run. It's positive if it's going up, positive if it's going up, negative if it's going down, but you always look at lines from left to right, so the run's always positive. It could also be calculated with the slope formula, y2 minus y1 equal or over x2 minus x1. And the reason why I put the division bar in black and the subtractions in black is because that's what you start with when you apply the slope formula. You start by doing the division bar and then the subtractions, and then you plug in your y2, your y1, your x2, and your x1 from your coordinates. And what else? The b value right here, I highlighted in blue on y equals mx plus b. The b value is the y-intercept value, which is the value that crosses the y-axis. As a coordinate, the value that crosses the coordinate that is the point where the line crosses the y-axis will be the coordinate 0, comma something, right? You have to have 0 for x in order for that point to land on the y-axis. So that's y equals mx plus b. Slope, point slope form is where they give you a point and they give you a slope. You could write it in point slope form. x1, y1 is your coordinate. That's your point. The m value is just like before, the slope, which is rise over run, which could also be calculated with slope formula. And standard form, the reason why we have capital AX plus capital BY plus or equals capital C is to remind you that A, B, and C cannot be decimals, cannot be fractions. You want nice numbers. You want nice whole numbers right there. Or actually nice integers. They could be positive or negative. So yeah, you don't want decimals or fractions for the A, B, or C values. So I hope we have all three forms memorized. I hope we're comfortable with them. Let's move on to some practice. So that's going to be worksheet 4.3, writing equations in point slope form. So it's really easy. First thing that we need to know is what point slope form actually is, right? What point slope form actually is. So this is your point slope form equation. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. The point is the blue x1, y1. That's your point. Your slope is the red m. We should all know that already. So it boils down to just plugging in, right? Like number 3, for example, they want you to write the equation in point slope form that passes through this point and has this slope. Well, if you went for number 3, you would say y minus y1, that would be negative 4, equals m, which happens to be 0. They're telling us that the slope is 0. Open parentheses, x minus x1. x1 is negative 3. Okay? Well, should have closed the parentheses in black. Sorry. Anyhow, we really have y plus 4 equals 0 times x plus 3. And of course, 0 times anything is simply 0. So you could scratch that out, and you really have y plus 4 equals 0. So, wow, this probably was a bad example to do in point slope form. I guess point slope form would be left like this. I don't know, what does the answer in the back of the page have? Oh, like the first one? Okay. Yeah, so this worksheet, they leave it like this, but you get the idea. You plug in m right here, you plug in your x right there, and plug in your y right there. So I guess they left it like that.
No, it's like plus 4 equals.
Oh, okay, they actually did change the minus minus to plus plus. Okay, so they left it like this guy right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I think we should do another example because that one was kind of horrible. Let's do number, what the heck? Let's do number 2 right next to it. Nice and simple. So point slope form, y minus y1. What's y1? Negative 6 equals m. What's m? Negative 1. And then open parentheses, x minus x1, which is 1, close parentheses. So again, I plugged in my point x1, y1 in the blue, plugged in my m in red, and the only thing you could do to make this look nicer in point slope form is change the plus plus. So y plus 6 equals negative 1, parentheses x minus 1. That's your final answer in point slope form. Now if they asked you to change it to slope intercept, you'd have to distribute the negative 1, move the 6 over to the other side, get y by itself. But they're asking for point slope, and that's about it. Now, of course, it gets more interesting because they also throw in standard form. Standard form is the capital AX plus capital BY equals capital C. So you definitely don't want parentheses involved. So to get rid of the parentheses, you're going to have to distribute. So let's take a look at number 12, for example. That one looks fun. Let's change this point slope form equation into standard form. And not only that, guys, standard form, you don't want decimals or fractions. That's why they're capitalized, to help you remember that you don't want decimals or fractions. So let's say you wanted to get rid of the fraction 4/3. What would I have to multiply everything by? 3. So I will put a times 3, times 3, times 3. And notice, I'm not going to do anything with the inside of the parentheses. It's kind of like if the parentheses are protecting them. It's not that they're protecting. The truth is, what you do to the outside fraction, 4/3, since it needs to be distributed anyway, it's kind of like if you did it to the inside guys also. So multiply everything by 3. And yeah, it's like if you multiplied these inside values by 3, because whatever you do to the outside, it's like if you did it to the inside guys. So let's rewrite this equation. It's going to be 3y minus 18 equals 4 parentheses x minus 3. There's no more 4/3, it's just 4. And now we're going to get it in standard form. Let's get rid of those parentheses by distributing. 4 times x, you get 4x. 4 times negative 3, you get negative 12. Bring down the equal sign, the 3y, the minus 18. So now we have no more fractions, no decimals. It's ready to go. All we need to do is move the x to the left and move that negative 18 to the right. So let me move the 4x over by subtracting 4x. You can't really subtract x's and y's, so we're just going to rewrite it. But I might as well do 2 steps in one and get rid of the minus 18 by going plus 18, canceling, and plus 18 over here. So my new equation will be negative 4x plus 3y equals 6. Now, this is a standard form equation. However, some multiple choice test generators don't leave the a value as negative 1. Maybe this worksheet doesn't even have the answer with the a value of negative 1. So you might see this answer, which would be multiplying everything by negative 1. It'd be a positive 4x, a negative 3y, equals a negative 6. So what does the answer in the back of the page have?
Negative 4x.
They kept it negative 4x?
Oh,
okay. Okay, so yeah, they did the second option of getting the a value to be positive. So how do you get the a value to be positive? You multiply everything by negative 1. The part of this worksheet, it says write each equation in slope-intercept form. Like number 16, that's obviously in point slope form, but you want to change it to slope-intercept. So we're going to have to get rid of the parentheses by distributing. You'll have 4x plus 8 equals, let's bring down the rest, y plus 2. And slope-intercept form has y by itself, so let's get rid of that 2, subtract 2. What you do to one side, do to the other side. Of course, you're going to subtract the 8, or 2 take the 8 take away 2 on the 8, not on the 4x. So our final slope-intercept form equations, y equals 4x plus 6. So that third part is pretty easy. Let's move on to the next worksheet.